Hi, everyone, and welcome and we're back to the Neil Haley Show here on the Caregiver Dave Celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome the program, Caregiver Dave and Sandy. Dave, are you still tired from London? I saw all the pictures, everything. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, a little jet lag. It takes a while to get rid of it, but spoke at the London Stock Exchange with Nigel Farage, my new hero of Brexit fame, and it was great. It was a whirlwind trip back in 3 days, which I don't recommend you do. We were supposed to spend several weeks there with my wife, but she just didn't want to go because of COVID.
So you're in and out and back, and now you're ready to roll. And
Yeah, 3 COVID tests. I'm negative all the way.
See, I am getting into this. I guess, Dave, we're going into themes of horror films, right? This must be horror season. We're getting into October. Are you? And Dave is skittish about horror films, but this one here will make you think. I viewed the whole film and I loved it. And introduce our guest, Dave.
It's just that I get nightmares after I watch it. So Anyway, our guest today, my phone just went blank. I'm sorry. My guest today, Matt Paterson. Sorry about that. Matt Paterson, director of Apartment 13. And it's a horror flick if you haven't figured that out already. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. And just to clarify, it's Apartment 413.
13. I think it came back in the thing.
Typo. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's Apartment 413. I'm never going to get an Apartment 413. I'm never going to be in a hotel in 413. Anything based on this. So let's just jump back to kind of your career for a second. Did you always want to be a director? Is that something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I actually was just mentioning this to somebody yesterday. I used to make, I'm going to date myself, but the height of popularity was if you knew somebody or were the person that had a VHS camcorder in middle school and high school. So I had a friend Danny, who had a VHS camcorder while his dad did. So of course, Danny became everybody's best friend. And we would make all these short films. They were horrible, editing from VCR to VCR. And when we started getting towards college time, getting into colleges, I started realizing, I'm in theater. I'm really enjoying working with other actors and what the director is doing. I had no concept that real people make movies. Does that make sense?
Right.
You grow up watching me, they're a thing. Yeah. And I asked my friends, I was like, hey guys, who do you think is directing all this? They looked at me like I was stupid. I'm well, you're the one bossing us around. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that was kind of what made me click. And so then I went to undergrad at Pepperdine, got my theater directing degree, and then I went to the LA Film School and majored in film directing and sound design, actually. And then I actually started as an AC in 35 millimeter shoots, commercials, music videos, films, and worked my way up after moving to Austin with my wife. Much smaller town, much more affordable housing.
Compared to LA, but it might not be for
yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No, not anymore. It was in 2004. Now it's
not anymore. Austin is becoming a booming city, from what I'm hearing. All right, Dave. So,
Matt, I want to ask you a question, and it's a little philosophical, but what is it about thriller films that sell? I mean, I told you before this show that I get nightmares when I watch a thriller film, so I try not to watch them. But boy, everybody watches them. My kids watch them. And do they just like to be scared out of their wit? And many of them will have nightmares that night. What's the psychology behind that? I don't get it.
I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, I have memories of, we rented a house when I was in 3rd or 4th grade that had HBO, and we never had that. I remember sneaking down in the middle of the night, and probably some Slumber Party Massacre 4 or something like that. But I just remember being feeling like I was doing something wrong and there was something fun about it. And also being scared, but realizing I was okay, that it wasn't real. That kind of separation, it just kind of hooked me. And it's not my favorite genre in the world. I like everything. But there's something about horror. Now, for me, though, it's smart horror. I don't like the, more power to other people, but the gore fests are not my thing. I prefer more cerebral things that are going to scare you because you have to think about it, and it kind of deep seeds in your head.
So where does Chainsaw Massacre fit into that?
That would definitely be the very 80s naked girls with murder happening.
So did you go back and like some of the 80s stuff of horror films yourself? Are you that kind of fan of that genre?
Oh yeah. You. What do you think?
I love 80s. I mean, Freddy, Nightmare, yeah, you know, Michael Myers. I mean, Jason. It was the best time. Why is horror films not like that this day?
I don't know. My all-time favorite is actually The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, which is like a psychological thriller pretending to be a horror movie that's actually an Agatha Christie mystery. So that's like the pinnacle for me. But yeah, Freddy Krueger is like who I think it taps into some base fear of like we all get too tired, we can't stay awake. So what happens when we can't control our world around us?
Yeah. So how has horror films changed over the years? How has it developed? And is it going in a good direction as far as you're concerned?
Wow, you're asking really good questions. Uh, I don't know. I feel like it's fractured into so many subgenres where you used to say like, oh, we had slasher or like horror thriller, and now there's like, you know, gore, slasher, horror thriller, you know, heist movies. There's like all these like genres, which in some ways as a consumer it's great because you can really dial into the parts that you like. You're like, oh, I don't like these, but I like these over here. But I think that in some other ways it's because there's so many options. I think it allows more of a chance to just throw something against the wall instead of putting as much thought into it.
Yeah. So you like the direction it's going?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
So Matt, have you directed other things but horror, or you've been in other genres too in directing?
Yeah, no, I've done several shorts. I produced 4 features that I co-wrote 2 of those. One's a dramedy about a family on vacation. Another one's a sci-tech thriller about China takes over the US when everything with a computer chip gets turned off. And then I also produced a raunchy teen comedy. So I'm a lover of all genres. If it's a good story, that's what I like.
Okay, so how did you get hooked up with Apartment 413? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I had a project that I've been working on for years, writing, packaging through a huge agency, and it just fell apart like a lot of times it does. So I had this budget, a small budget sitting here that I was able to raise separately, and I just wanted to make something. I figured maybe I'm the problem, so I'll find a script. You know, my background's theater. I don't mind other people's writing. I think it's great. So I found this script on a website called Inktip, which is a private website for writers and producers to find scripts. And I thought it was great. And it was something that we could do quickly. It was small, one location, a couple actors, and we could just hit the ground running and have fun making it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask what's a good formula for a horror film? I mean, how many minutes into the film should you go where everything just looks normal and you wonder if it's even a thriller? And then finally, you know, the switch goes and how many minutes does it take for a good successful film for that to happen? Is there a formula?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that there's lots of formulas. I think that's actually where I maybe I'm also just getting older, but I think that the way that it's headed is everything needs to be right up in your face in the first scene and
No
never let up.
foreplay, in other words.
Yeah, and I like, you know, my favorite author is Stephen King, who takes 300 pages just to introduce you to the characters before anything happens. And I think that I like a slow burn, which Apartment 413, I believe, is.
Definitely.
It has like a one act or one scene at the very beginning, and then it's a slow burn, get to know the characters, care about them, and then things start to happen. And so for me, I think it's that break from the second act into the second act. So 17, 20 minutes in is when you should really, now you're invested in the characters. So when things start happening, you believe it and you care.
And that is you. So I agree with you in that fact that hits you first with this thing like, oh my, here we go. Right off the bat, hit you with something and you're questioning 2 years before. And then you go into the characters, you really get to understand the characters, and then things go crazy. But I think what it did is it took you on a roller coaster ride to see who really's the good character and who really isn't the good character and what's happening without giving it away, right?
Yeah, and that's what I like. I don't want to be able to figure out a movie from the beginning. I'm smart, but I don't want to be that smart. I want to, you know, I want to be challenged and tricked. To me, that's part of the fun, and that doesn't matter if it's a comedy, a mystery, or a horror film. To me,
You know, I was watching the trailer, and there was a a line in it that said, "And they fight back," without giving away the plot or too much of it. Um, is that a different twist in your thriller than most of them, where they just said, we're going to fight back and whatever it is that's coming at us?
You got me at a loss. I'm not sure where that is in the
Yeah.
trailer.
So I think it started to fight back where it's like really where it just like goes definitely awry. But let's kind of jump into more um, about this is the characters. Let's talk about the characters so Dave can understand a little bit about why this apartment 413 people can really resonate, especially when they're in a room with just another person stuck 24/7 with them, or even half the time, especially
Yeah,
thinking
that's
COVID
great.
too. COVID too definitely brings that out where you're just stuck going nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got the main character Marco, who is out of work looking for work. Today, you don't go knocking on doors. You sit at home in your underwear looking for work on the computer, which is lonely and isolating. And I think, like you said, after spending a year of everybody doing that, it really resonates even more. But he's got to find a job because his girlfriend's pregnant, and he needs to get a job before the baby comes. And while he's at home, weird things start happening. Post-it notes from somebody are being left around with really invasive, cruel things being said. Burner phone starts ringing, leaving him messages that he doesn't know who it's from, but casting doubt on the fidelity of his girlfriend. And then things get weird. Like it just escalates from there. And you really start to wonder, is Marco losing his mind? And Dana is so sweet, his girlfriend. She's a teacher. She cares about him, but it's just this struggle of can you ask for help if you don't even know what you're asking for help for? And we start to fear for her safety even. But we also, I hope, and Neil, tell me if this resonated for you. You're so desperate to figure out what's going on with Marco because you kind of like him
Yeah.
and you don't want him to be bad.
Yes. And they really honestly wasn't that. Maybe. I don't know. It's again the ending, just forget it. It's like, what happened? So, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, and that makes you think, and then you start thinking about so many different things from the beginning to the end, and you got to figure it out. So, Dave, you have to watch it. Okay, so I'm gonna go really quick. One question that I really think is, even though you said it's a lower budget film, this is really well done from beginning
Thank
to
you.
end. It was a. So, what's the feedback so far? People have seen the film.
It's been great. We were able to premiere at CineQuest Film Festival before everything shut down. Then we finished our festival run at the Austin Film Festival. So we got to have a lot of different audiences' reactions live, which was fantastic. In fact, that opening scene came from feedback from our first screening when we were like, oh, we need something that kind of hits in the beginning. So we went back and reshot that.
Oh, really?
And added that. Yeah, that wasn't in the original version. But reaction's been great. I think everybody has, it's not a Marvel movie. It's not going to have huge explosions and giant budget. And it is an indie film, but our actors are fantastic. I think Nicholas Sains, who plays Marco,
He's really good.
He's so good, and finding him was the best thing that ever happened to us because he's got to play a really big range, and he's literally in every single scene. So he has to carry that movie. And then Bria Grant, who I love, we've been friends since 2010 with my film An Ordinary Family. When it came out, we met at the LA Film Festival. She was such a treasure. In fact, when I found the script, I sent it to her to ask if I was crazy for liking it. And she told me I'd be crazy if I didn't make it and then cast her to be in it. So hearing you say that you felt like it was really well done and everything else is a huge testament to me. It makes me feel great, and especially for my cast and crew that worked so hard on it.
No, I mean, I thought it was well done, and the fact is, it's just a different type of horror film, and then it makes you think at the end, and that's where the questions come. Where I'm not going to say here, but people will have to definitely give more feedback, and I'm sure the film festival that ending kind of had people questioning, right?
Yeah, my favorite was grabbing a beer with everybody after the screening and just being peppered with questions. And well, what about this? And what about this? And that gets me excited because it means they were engaged and they care enough to see like how does it connect at the end.
So, Dave, do you have any of those stories where you're stuck in like a specific hotel room or apartment where it's kind of like really draw and just you never know what's going to happen type of thing?
Yeah, remember we interviewed about that movie in Malibu. That was a really good one
Yeah.
because it set you up pretty good. I wanted to ask, how did you find that amazing cast of characters?
So, like I said, luckily with Bria, we've been friends for a while. So I had no choice but to cast her because she had told me she'd kill me if I didn't. Um, Nick was a bit of a roller coaster to find. I was working with some casting directors, then my friends from working in other features and other projects around town, and then I actually trolled some agency websites and found him and saw his demo tape. And I reached out to my agents and were like, oh yeah, he auditioned, it wasn't good enough. And so I had them send me the tape and I was like, no, wait, he's perfect. So this weird circular, like I actually met with him outside of them and he's like, no, I auditioned for this movie already.
And you didn't know about it?
No, I had no idea. So it was just this bizarre thing
So
where
the casting director just kind of keeps that, he just shows you what he likes.
well, yeah, because he's like, all right, you had 700 people,
Ah.
700 shots sent in, video of people in front of their like webcam doing it. And so here's the top, 20.
Well, why didn't they like him? Did you find out?
I don't know.
He
But you like
he
it. That's
really
the
did a
important.
really good job. I'm telling you, and just really the character definitely went ups and downs throughout the whole process. But it also showed you the laziness of people who don't want to go find a job. And so there's themes to this. And I'm going to ask that question, Matt. Were there themes to this specifically enough that you wanted people to take away from this film?
Oh yeah, a ton. If you want to go back to the whole genre thing, my goal is always, it doesn't matter what the gimmick is or the genre is. If at the core it's not a good story, so for this, I wanted it to be just a good drama piece of relationships and how hard they are. And then you add the horror in and the thriller in, and I hope it just makes it more interesting. But the themes for me, it's like, yeah, this thing we're taught about masculinity, about providing, and what it means to be a man, and whether it's okay to ask for help, especially around mental health. That was a huge theme that I wanted to wrestle with. And then, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but things have been weird in America for the last 6 years or so with some weird politics stuff, some stuff going on. And I've had friends and family that have said things that have made me go, whoa, I don't know them at all. And so this script for me was kind of like a way for me to kind of wrestle through that and try to find a way to love someone who I don't necessarily agree with the way they perceive reality, but I have to still humanize them.
Yes,
If that makes sense at all.
You really did well job. So what's up next for you? You have another projects coming up after this?
Yeah, I'm in raising funds right now for a feature that is I think will be fun. Two of them actually. One is a werewolf on the border, where some vigilante border patrol people stop a truck of illegal immigrants, and they both start getting hunted by a werewolf at night, and have to team up to survive.
Yeah, werewolves never get old, do they?
No, but they're really they're not used enough. Everybody loves the sparkly vampires. So I think it could be a lot of fun. And then I've got another one that is like a straight drama based on a true story about a woman that was held hostage with her kids for 5 days and managed to keep the kids from knowing that they were even being held hostage.
Oh wow!
It's a really amazing true story, and I can't wait to see that one get made.
All right, Dave. Dave's question's the last question before we can know now about the film and how we can watch it on VOD. But go ahead, Dave, with your caregiving question.
Well, I've been married 47 years. My wife had a stroke halfway through. She lost her speech, became paralyzed on one side. In fact, we're having a film made about our life. And I was going to ask you before this question was, how many film festivals did you actually apply to and how many applied back? But you can mention that afterwards. So, I became Dave, the caregiver's caregiver, and I now have done like 50 TV shows, about 25 stages. I just got back from London, as I mentioned. If I believe that if you're not a caregiver today, just wait. You're either going to become one, or you're going to need one. My question to you is, how has caregiving touched your life, if it has, with your parents, grandparents, friends?
Great. That's such a wonderful question. It is. It has made me go from thinking I was a good person to finding out that I had a lot of work to do on myself. From being a parent, I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old daughters. And then my dad moved in with us a few years ago. And he is now my third teenager, we say, in our house, eating the food and complaining about it, and not helping around the house too much.
Role
But he
reversal.
is, yeah, but it's been amazing for my daughters to be able to grow up with Papa in the house. And it's been good because my parents got a divorce when I was younger. And so I'm getting to live with my dad again, but it's 35 years later. So it's a totally different dynamic. And
What condition is he in? I mean, does he have dementia or anything?
he is partially disabled, mobility. Broke both of his feet several years ago, when I was 15, so a lot of years ago. And it's gotten incrementally worse as he's gotten older. And then just, check everything off at the box when you fill out at the doctor's office of all the things, and he's got them all. So,
well, bless you for having it in your heart to do that. Not everybody would. Shows
your
character.
I mean, you don't have a choice. It's your parents. You gotta love them.
Well, some people wouldn't agree with you, but yes, I agree. That's awesome.
All right, so go to caregiverdave.com to find out more information. So Matt, the question is, how are you going to help Caregiver Dave when he's applying for different film festivals? How does that process work?
Yeah, how many did you actually apply to, and how many did you hear back from?
For this film, I think we applied to about 20 and got into just a few. They don't respond really unless you get in. You might get in a rejection letter after they've already published everybody that got in. But one of my films, An Ordinary Family, we got into over 40 film festivals. Won the New Orleans Film Festival for Best Feature Film. And that one we applied to probably about 20, got into 5 or 6. But because of the buzz from the first few, more started inviting us to screen. So that's really the way to get in and start getting invited, which is, I don't know how to break that secret sauce. It didn't happen with this one. But I will say the biggest thing, I have friends who are programmers at certain festivals, like here in Austin at the Austin Film Festival. And everybody will say, apply early and only send in your film when it is done and you're proud of it and it's ready to show. So make sure it's ready. You only get one shot to send it across their desk, and send it in at the early bird entry time.
Got it.
And start at the ones at the beginning of the calendar and kind of work your way through.
Okay. All right. Well, awesome. And Matt, where can we check out the film and stuff? Where's the best place?
So we have screenings on YouTube and things like that where you can chat with filmmakers, but right now it's also released on Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can watch it right now. It's on Tubi and a couple other of those ad-supported ones like Crackle. It is coming out soon on the Roku platform and several other ones. If you want to see the entire list, you can find us on Facebook or Twitter at Apartment 413.
All right. Well, fantastic. I'm telling you, this is again a treat, and I'll have to talk to Matt off air, or he has to shoot me a message or something about the ending, because the ending will get you going, Dave. I'll definitely send you the screener so you can watch it. Okay.
And I'm not going to have nightmares, right?
No, he's not going to have nightmares. He's going to be perplexed and wonder. Make sure that you don't have any burner phones in the house. That's for sure.
I'll check it out on Amazon.
It's gonna drive you nuts. And then there you go. All right. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again.
Thanks.
All right,
guys. Very much.
All right, guys. That was the Caregiver Dave celebrity segment. Take care, guys.